Hey, Bob, guess what? It's another episode of Let's Chat Sales.
Let's chat sales.
And this time, you may recall, just recently, we talked about branding and your brand.
Feels like just a few moments ago.
It does
Time
feel
flies.
that way, doesn't it? And yet, it was like for the listener, it's probably a week ago. But all right, but that said,
Unless they're going through them, binging them, in which case they're one after another, right?
who want to do that? I mean, the melodious sounds of Bob and Brendan.
By the
Right.
way, helpful hint to those of you who haven't figured it out already. You can watch these or listen at 1.5 times the speed, and you will get a lot more accomplished in life. And I sound pretty good faster.
We all do. All right, so that aside, what we're going to talk about today is the difference between, or how to think about your personal brand versus a company brand.
Okay,
How's that sound?
that sounds great. I like it.
This came up because of the Pioneer program, and we were talking to the individuals in this class that I'm teaching around for very early stage startups. And in some cases, the business is an individual, and in some cases, the business is a company. And so that kind of warrants thinking about how you brand the business, right?
Right.
So what do you
Well, my thoughts, I have a company that's me,
yeah,
and so I brand it around me.
yeah,
And it's very easy. Having done branding with bigger companies,
yeah,
it's a whole lot easier to brand when it's just you.
yeah, right,
Because I can stay on message or I can go way off message very easily.
yeah,
With the company, it becomes more complicated because every person has to be consistent in that brand message.
right,
And that can be how they dress, what they say, how they talk about your company mission, how they talk about your customers.
yeah,
There are a lot of factors there. And I think where the gray area becomes is I have a company that's just me, but my vision would be that my company would be more than me at one point.
yeah,
And so how do I make that transition? How do I go from it's Bob's company? And thankful, and I did one thing, I didn't name it after me. That was an intentional choice at the beginning because I was like, if it gets big, I don't want it to be Bob Graham and Associates. I love seeing my name in print, but when you go sell Bob Graham and Associates, not so good.
Yeah, and this is a thing when it comes to selling, and that is, if it's your own name, it's hard to do that. But at the same time, there's significant advantages to having a company be named after you, right? Having your, BrendanMcAdams.com, and have everything directed to you if you're a sole proprietorship,
right?
Or if you're your own business. But the downside is when you do that, you're right. It's hard to sell that. It's hard to scale it, right? At some level, right?
Yeah, who wants to come work for BrendanMcAdams.com?
Right. And because if you do, ultimately the customer is going to want you. They're going to want the person on the letterhead.
Correct.
And so that's not a bad thing, but it does change the dynamic of the company, the potential for the company, and so forth.
And you see this in a lot of industries. Dental practices tend to be the name of the person. And there's been a trend in the last 4 or 5 years. There's a lot of the older dentists want to sell.
Yeah.
That they'll change the name of their practice from Joe Blow Dental and Associates to, Happy Valley Dental.
Right. But the problem, and I have a buddy who's going through this process right now. Dental practices that get bought, they need multiple dentists in that business. They're not that interested in one person.
Correct.
So if you're a one-person dental shop or you're a one-person consulting shop, you can name yourself Kinetics, as I have, and it really doesn't help you that much if you don't have a team of people behind you. So,
right.
So,
are you offering me a job now, Brendan? Is that what that was?
You kind of have a job here as it is. You're sidekick extraordinaire. And
wow,
the perks of that.
That means a lot coming from an entrepreneur in residence. I'm just saying.
We can't get out of that mode. Like that has to be mentioned at least once in every.
I skipped it last time. I feel really bad.
Oh, good point. All right. So anyway, that's the way I'm thinking of. So a personal brand, and now say we want to go after and develop our personal brand. What are you thinking to do that? Like, what does it take to make that happen?
I think it's how you dress, how you act, where you go.
Yep.
I had a period in my career where I was doing a lot of networking events, and I realized I was doing networking events with a certain level of client.
Yeah.
And not the level of client I was looking for.
Yeah.
And I was well known in a pond that wasn't the pond I wanted to swim in.
Right. Right.
So I had to change my game. So it's where you hang out.
Yep.
I think it's how your website looks. I think it's how you respond to people. If you get back to them the same day, that's different than if you don't get back to them ever or wait a week.
Right.
I was talking to someone last week who was complaining about a service provider because they were trying to get on that person's calendar, and the calendar was booked out for the next 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And that was really frustrating. But it's like, I'm ready to buy this, but I want to talk to them first. I'm not waiting 3 weeks.
Right. It's where you're on social media and how you behave on social media.
And how you behave as a company, and also how you behave as an individual.
Right.
Because don't believe that if you put your first name and middle name instead of your last name, people aren't going to figure out it's you.
Right. Well, the funny thing about that too is now if you have employees in your business, right?
That's the complication.
Right. They now want to have on their LinkedIn profile their own thing. They may not want to have your company message. They may be an employee of yours, but they're going to have their own brand. And so there's a fair amount of confusion that can take place if you've got people that are active employees in your company, but they're on Twitter as themselves, they're on LinkedIn or Instagram.
And they may be critical of your company. You know, I was at a staff meeting today that went for 4 hours. It could have been done in 15 minutes.
Yeah, right.
I read that on Twitter just a couple of days ago.
Yeah, yeah.
And someone's going to read that and be like, wow, where's this? I know where this person works. That company must be really inefficient.
Yeah, yeah. So you know, those sorts of things are things that I kind of wrestle with. In terms of creating a personal brand, having a profile, having a bio, having a good, well-written bio that you can always have like available. I use a text compression, what do you call it? Text expander. And I have like a little ZBIO, and if I hit that, it provides a little one paragraph file that I can use, that I can share with
Mr. Technology.
Yeah. And so having a nice
the photograph of you that's used in any kind of media or marketing, you know, if you have the great picture of you with the hand on the shoulder because you cut out the 3 guys that you were hanging out with, or the woman that you're dating, and you just see the arm on the shoulder, that's different than having a professional headshot where, you know, the background applies. There's a lot of little things that go into a personal brand.
Right. Yep. So, but having a one pager about who you are and what you do, I think that can be useful.
That speaks to the customer.
Yeah, it speaks to the customer and allows them to answer questions about who you are and what you do and how you can help. I think that's huge and inexpensive. It's not hard to do something like that and have it well done. Have someone, you know, either clean it up on Canva or have someone on Fiverr make it really attractive as a PDF, right?
Having consistent messaging is a big thing to me.
Yep.
You know, that if I look at your website and I look at your brochure, I feel like I'm dealing with the same company.
Yep.
Look and feel some of the similar language. I've heard people say that a mission statement is really important to a personal brand. What's the person trying to accomplish in life?
Yeah. Having a website. Do you spend money on a website? How much do you need to spend? There are really good little websites you can do for essentially pennies now. Card is one.
You can go to Wix. You can go to GoDaddy.
Squarespace, and they can be pretty inexpensive. They can be a time sink. In some cases, you don't need to spend a lot on that sort of stuff. I don't think you need to spend money on letterhead these days, right? No. I mean, and we talked about whether or not you need a business card.
Well, it's funny. We were at an event together last week, and a guy there was talking about Blink, BLINQ.
Yeah.
And I downloaded that, and I've built my business card on that, and I've used it 3 times so far.
Yeah, and I use Hi Hello, same sort of thing. It's just an app, and so you can it puts their.
And that would depend largely on who you're going to interact with. I deal with a lot of older people, and they ask for business cards.
Yeah.
So I have a business card. I actually play the parlor game with them. Like, hey, I got this thing. Can you pull your phone out?
Yeah. And
can you scan this barcode? And they're just like fascinated by this new technology. Like, how do you do that?
Yeah. That's right.
So that can be, and that can also be part of my brand, right?
Right.
I bring to these people technology that they wouldn't otherwise use, and I'm willing to take the time to explain it to them.
Right.
Rather than go, oh, you don't know this. What's wrong with you?
Yeah. So
subtle things like that play into your brand.
Yeah, that's good. Well, I mean, anything else?
No, I think we've given people a lot of hints. And of course, Brendan, if someone's confused by this or perplexed, you would love to talk to them about, right?
Yeah, happily. Yeah. And launching a course. Check it out in the doobly-doo. It's kinetics.com/sales accelerator. 30 days.
It's a sprint.
30-day sprint that will get you 5 new prospects in your pipeline. So, or your money back. So more details.
I'm going to take you up on that one, I think.
All right. All right, Bob. Good chat.
All right, we'll do it again.
You bet. See you, man.
See ya.
Okay, that was another episode of Let's Chat Sales, a quick one, of course, and I hope it was helpful. And if it was, please like and subscribe, and more importantly, share it with your friends. There should be something right here you could point to and click on and try that out. It should be good. It's probably good. Certainly short. It's probably helpful. And thanks for listening or watching.